Hello friends, welcome to another Star Citizen update. This one looking at a profession, salvage. We haven't really touched on in a while. Might be pointing us towards A, new salvage starter ship coming into the game soon. B, my hot take, possible reclaimer rework is kind of needed. And C, honestly, just more progress in industrial gameplay. I'm going to show you guys what the update is. We've got some Evocati patch notes here that we can go over real quick. Just it's going to be an overview. It's not going to be super detailed. I haven't gotten to read into this too much, but it does seem like something that's making a fairly big deal to how salvage is going to work, working into materials, getting us prepared for crafting and refining gameplay and more like that. So let's jump into it. This is 4.3.2. This patch was released on October 1st, it says. Wow, wait, I am that far behind on this? It is currently the 3rd. This was dropped about 48 hours ago almost, so maybe I'm a little late here. But structural salvage has undergone some major changes to prep for future systems. This will affect all salvage mechanics for all ships and will increase complexity, adjust salvaging times and materials collected, and add refining as part of the flow for materials. You know, I'm thinking maybe this was posted on the 1st, but it wasn't updated until the 2nd, and I'm just getting bamboozled. The biggest change here is going to be a ship identity and role change. Each salvage ship is now going to have a distinct identity and specialized role, with the Reclaimer being focused on quantity over quality, with the fastest structural salvage processing designed for large-scale operations. The Vulture then is the lone wolf, balanced middle ground, and serving as a reference point for all other ships. This is good. Variety is nice, it's a spice of life, but it just makes sense for a really large industrial capital class salvaging ship to be focused on just scrounging up everything it can and pushing it out as fast as possible for mass. With the focus on quality, when it comes to crafting, you guys can look at some of the old stuff they talked about in that regard at last CitizenCon. The salvaged materials you get will probably be different levels of quality based on how good you are at salvaging. You know, if you can keep that marker in the green zone instead of dipping into the red, for lack of a better metaphor, that's more mining related. But the more you can keep that salvage process pure, probably the higher quality materials you're going to get, which means the higher you're going to be able to sell them for, or the better materials you'll be able to craft from them. It's good to remember that the Maelstrom system and overall materials in the game are going to allow for everything to translate over to what it's made of. So if you salvage a ship, you should be getting the materials that were used to make that ship. Titanium, steel, other weird materials in the verse. There's some more technical changes coming up. The field generation system, this is the fracturing field, I imagine. They all get increased range, fields having been increased up to 60 meters from where they were before. Ship-specific fields, now each ship now generates differently sized fields matching their visual design, and the sweet spots have been repositioned, aligned, and moved from dead center to ship-appropriate positions. I'm hoping that the overall idea behind fracturing ships moves eventually away from just pressing a button. This seems like it's adding more nuance to it, but I'm hoping it comes down to the idea of literally blowing ships apart, whether that is through our own custom-placed salvage charges, which act kind of like gadgets in the mining realm, or whether that's just using a laser from cutting a ship up. I do hope that while we can disintegrate the stuff and pull in the little chunks of everything with the push of a button, that the actual fracturing part of salvage, specifically the construction material taking, is more applied over time. Speaking of fracturing, though, it's got a rebalancing on the time with 5 speed differentials. That gives us a massive performance gap between the fastest and slowest ships, and speed rankings, with Reclaimer being fastest and the Vulture actually being just a baseline. The interesting thing here is they're not mentioning all the salvage ships. They're just completely forgetting about the Fortune. But I'm guessing the Fortune will correspond mostly to the Vulture. It'll act a lot like it. I don't know. It's weird how that doesn't really pop up much in terms of their talks here, but okay. The conversion rate for SU to construction materials have been optimized based on the ship, with the current live rankings being Reclaimer as the best available. Of course, that makes sense. To talk more about that field alignment sweet spot with a 7x speed multiplier on the Reclaimer when properly aligned. So when you're in the sweet spot, your salvaging will actually be doing better. I'd be interested in hearing from you guys, a little debate in the comments. Do you think this is something that should be super, super obvious on the UI? Should there be like an identifier that tells you here is where to go to be in the sweet spot? Or do you think this should be something you kind of learn as you do it? Maybe the game gives you a couple tips. Maybe you can find the information if you look for it. But could this be one of those things that's like, you only know if you know? You know, the best salvagers know how to get into the ship's sweet spot. Is it good enough for each ship to have a specific sweet spot? Or should the game also tell you very clearly where that's going to be? Because there's a lot of play here in terms of making the profession more in-depth, making it more fun to figure out the ins and outs of it, but also making sure that that's actually something people can do. Maybe it's enough work to just have to figure it out on a ship-by-ship basis or look it up on a ship-by-ship basis. Maybe you need more work. Maybe it has to be something people search for. I don't know. I'd like to hear your opinions on that. Visibility mechanics going forward. Sweet spots are displayed by a plus or minus percentage on debris pieces. So it does kind of tell you that something's happening. But again, I don't know if it directs you straight to that sweet spot. They also say that easier with the tractor beam ships, but possible through flight positioning. So it's they're making it easier to move things around to get into the sweet spot, I guess. This also comes with a new 3-tier material system. All structural salvage now produces raw materials requiring refinery processing. First is the powder. High density, lowest yield after refining, fastest refinery time process. So this is probably how you're going to do it with the reclaimer. You get scraps, which is medium density, medium yield, and processing time. And you get chunks, low density, highest yield after refining, longest refinery processing time. The interesting thing to me is that this balance and how you consider these things will change if you have a refining ship on site with you. That is the key, I think, to making Star Citizen feel really good. Is like, if you are specializing in a certain type of ship, you want that ship to matter. You want it to make a difference in the gameplay that you and your group of people are doing. And it would be cool to be like, hey, I've got a refining ship on site. Don't worry about getting high speed and getting back to the station quickly. Just drop off your high yield, low speed materials with me and keep salvaging. I'll be here and we can get a cargo ship to fly it back. Yeah, you got to spend more money, but you know, it's cool to work with other people. Refinery integration is also coming to salvaging. Something that has been limited to mining so far is now being brought into the salvage pipeline to complicate that gameplay a little bit. All refinery decks can process these materials. Same end product, all materials refined into construction material. Workflow, raw materials, station inventory via freight elevator, and then refinery processing. Time design, small ships get quick turnaround, large ships have extended processing, but higher profits. All of this will get thrown on its head when player refining comes into the game, but ultimately people will still use station refineries when player refining is in, so this process needs to work too. The biggest problem here I see is that the reclaimer, I don't think it can land in space stations and I don't think it can dock, so is this a means for them to start talking about and possibly shoehorning in a reclaimer rework? This ship is very much outdated in terms of its design. Originally released, I think, in 2018 maybe, or 2019. This ship is a freaking, it's a massive capital class refining ship. And refining not having existed in this game until 2023 means that they didn't really know how it needed to be designed to work that. If you look at the interior of this ship, if you've tried refining in this ship, you know it needs help. I'm not seeing any pictures here, but the interior of the reclaimer is awful for what it needs to do. It's hard to move cargo around in there. It doesn't make a lot of sense how the salvage moves from there. They've got the whole claw set up that was supposed to bring things into the spinny wheels of death that then cut stuff up and pass it down to the thing. Look, the ship is beautiful. It's amazing. Nostromo energy through and through. Very industrial, very dirty. It hits the vibe, but they definitely need to do an interior rework. It needs to be able to connect to space stations. It just needs to work a little bit better. They haven't talked about that at all, though. So I'm wondering how this factors in. Maybe you can get stuff off the reclaimer into a refinery, into a space station. I don't fly it very often, but I think I think that's something they need to check out pretty quickly here. All right, we got strategic implementations from this, operational models, solo players using small ships for immediate gratification and quick profits, group operations using Reclaimer for high volume operations with delayed but substantial payouts, and mixed operations, on-site salvage production with dedicated transport ships for raw materials. Next, you'll be able to add a fourth version of this, mixed operations, on-site salvage production with on-site refining ships and dedicated transport ships to sell those off. We're building out the choices very slowly here. Economic balance. This is incomplete for the Evocati build. Remember, this is Evocati. This isn't in the live game yet. This could all change. To be honest, this could find its way not into the live patch. This could be something they put off for a little longer. But they say with the economy here, stuff here, crew compensation. The Reclaimer profits are designed to support full crew payouts. This is key. The economy team is involved in developing the gameplay now. It's not something they would have mentioned before, trying to make sure that things are balanced to actually fit whatever type of gameplay you're choosing. So this is actually like a really, really key part of this development, in that the economy is starting to be considered when we're getting into professions. Next point is succession-based versus delayed economics. Small ship profits are available immediate, while large ship profits are going to require waiting periods. That gets even more so with refining. And then we got volume versus efficiency, trade-offs between processing speed and total yield, of course. Now, future integration with the crafting system. This is the stepping stone design. The current system is not a placeholder, but foundation for post-crafting implementation. When crafting arrives, ship will produce the actual material they are built off of. That's what we mentioned before. Refinery processing times and quality retention mechanics will remain consistent, and the quality systems dictates that chunks will retain material quality better than powder, affecting refining times. I'm hoping that we can get these little boxes of scrap coming out of the Reclaimer when we do get to doing chunks, you know? Some of these, I think that would really help to like sell the idea that this is not a material that's being properly, cutely boxed up and in your Reclaimer itself. This is getting spat out as the stuff that you got collected and primed to be shipped off. And then you refine it and it turns into the boxes. That'd be nice. Hopefully they can change that graphics for this kind of thing. So as a first impression, this is all really good. It's moving in a direction of more complexity, more variety, and more abilities to tackle this type of gameplay from different angles. Salvage is a big part of the economy. It's a part of industrial gameplay, and having different parts of the salvage loop means there are going to be different things that people specialize in, which is important for these game loops. This seems like a pretty good change. An unexpected one, for sure. And I mean, it's kind of expected. They need to be fixing this stuff in the lead up to crafting, and clearly they are setting the stage for it. But I'm going to have to jump into this in more detail and consider more of this regarding the rest of the game to really understand what this means for Salvage going forward. It feels good right off the bat here. I think most people would agree that the expansion of the gameplay itself is good. But is it going in the direction that we want? You salvagers, chime up in the comments, let us know. Additional gameplay updates here call for a FES tractor beam update for snappier movement, faster rotations, and longer break times. Interesting. And then an updated sweep and clear mission to only display mission locations in the player's local planetary system. Ah, please. They keep on trying at that. I will love when that is working 100% of the time. And we can start to get an idea of how much gameplay is around each planet as opposed to in the whole game. Either way, this has been your update, and I do think that the way they talk about this here, especially considering they've got a fastest ship here, and then they've got a balanced middle ground ship that is the reference point for all other ships, seems to be leaving a convenient gap for a starter, slower, more of a basic ship coming in. Something equivalent to, I don't know, the Golem in mining. They're building starter ships for all professions: combat, mining, next to salvage. There have been racing, I believe. Eventually we'll get the other ones when there are other professions in the game. But it does look like this starting salvage ship that was proposed back in March that they are working on in the concept phase is looking more and more likely more and more soon. I do think that this is going to be pretty soon. Like, in the next couple months, I think we're going to see this RSI starting salvage ship. Let me give you a little look at what they were saying about it back then.
I can't remember which number design this was, but this was meant to be like it's similar-ish to the Mantis, actually. So it was like, had some inspiration from that.
Looks like Mantis mixed with the Pisces, little anvil in there.
Doing its salvage stuff.
So the salvage arms will come out of these things here in the front?
Yeah, they did like come out, or they'd be like, we're not sure how much movement it's going to have on it yet, so there's still a lot of interpretation there, but it's also got like the little frilly bits on the side, like what the Vulture's got for the fracture field, for disintegrating stuff. I quite like that one.
I think it's very cool. Chat's taking to this one really well.
Hell yeah.
Looks like a kind of a...
Chat, is it real?
It looks like a cover car, sort of. It's kind of cool.
Do you like that?
And then there's this guy.
This one honestly looks more combat to me. Like a little stealth fighter.
I guess, 'cause it's like kind of got a Zeusy silhouette. So it's a lot flatter.
This one.
But it's also got its big salvage.
It straight up looks like it has ion cannons on the front.
Who makes the Pisces? Oh, I can't remember what manufacturers the
Anvil.
Pisces. Huh?
Anvil?
Yeah. I definitely, you know, I look at this and I see some Pisces influence and everything, but we have this conversation all the time.
I think these all have some Pisces influence. The Pisces is a really, really nicely sized ship. Actually, one of, if not the smallest ship that can carry 3 people in a seat. It is a good small ship. So it's not surprising that another small ship that looks kind of good and is sort of in that same design range looks similar to it. But I'm betting whatever the in-game model is going to look quite different.
And again, the brief here is a salvage starter. So this is the entry-level ship. Like when we say starter, I mean like you could start your Star Citizen journey with this one.
Yeah, it's pretty like.
And obviously you would upgrade to things like the Fortune or the Mole and stuff later on. That's like that. But a place to start
meant Vulture.
Salvage. And then our third.
But yeah, they're clearly filling out their starter ships and making sure that they're all up to snuff. They're even updating the Aurora finally. So I don't think that a salvaging starter ship is out of the cards for even by end of year. These are the possibilities as of right now when it comes to where salvage might be going. The gameplay and how it's changing, and what ships or reworks might be coming up because of those changes. It's just one part of Star Citizen that's getting updates, something maybe we'll hear about at CitizenCon Direct, because this is a very interesting time to be dropping it in, but they're doing a lot more updates, a lot more patches this year than they normally do, and who knows, maybe taking time off of a full CitizenCon is the reason why they're able to drop this month. Either way, hope you got a little update here, learned some more about where we're headed, and I hope you enjoyed it. Catch you in the next one.